Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, October 16th, 2008. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, we bring you the Sam Adams LongShot winners announcement and talk to all of the winners and the finalists as our coverage of the Great American Beer Festival 2008 begins. Well, if you're new to home brewing or would like to get into the hobby for the first time, check out our website, basicbrewing.com, where you can find archives of our audio and video podcasts and our DVDs to walk you through basic and more advanced brewing techniques. And you can follow me on Twitter. My username, Basic Brewing, all one word. Wow, what a week last week was. Andy Sparks and I are back from Denver, and we got a lot of stuff lined up to talk to you about. We were amazed by all of you who came up and said hello as we wandered about that part of Colorado. Great to put faces with folks that have met through email and with Twitter. And if you stopped us and snapped a picture with us, be sure to send it to me, and I'll post it on our gallery page. We had some people stop us, like on the street, and take our picture. Pretty cool. Also great to meet fellow podcasters that I hadn't met in person before. Douglas from Homebrewing Perspectives was there. Dick and Mike from Big Foamy Head I'd never met in person before. Rick was there, but I'd met him before, and I was actually on their show very briefly. There they were at the Keg Rent Out Club event, which was also very, very cool. Who else? Corey and Justin from Brew Crazy. Justin and Molly from Davis on Draft. And Rick Sellers from Pacific Brew News, who, seems like we've known each other forever, and I just never met him in person. It was excellent to meet him in person. Rick, of course, is also the beer editor of Draft Magazine, so I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. We met a ton of folks, so email me if I left you out of the podcaster list. Especially new people that I'd never met before. Just send me an email and say, what are you getting that old and senile? You can't remember? Well, yeah. Speaking of Rick Sellers, be sure to check out the Basic Brewing video episode that's out there now. I asked Rick to take us on a very brief tour of the United States of beer there at the Great American Beer Festival, kind of to give us a snapshot of the depth and breadth of brewing in the United States. And Rick did a great job, and I appreciate his spending so much time with us. It was really a lot of fun to hang out with him for a while. He's just such a busy guy with his draft beer editor duties. I knew him when. So after being out of town and all of that activity, it's kind of a rough transition to get back into the routine grind of putting out podcasts, but we're going to do it. Look for a GABF wrap-up episode of Basic Brewing Video with Andy Sparks and me coming up in the near future when we can get together. While we were away, the email kept coming. And I appreciate your patience while we were at the festival. I kind of took a break from answering email while we were out of town. I think I'm pretty much caught up now. So let's jump in there and see what we've got. You may remember that we read an email from Brian in Tell City, Indiana, Brian had a little defect in his glass carboy, in the wall of his carboy, that had been harboring mold, and he was not able to get in there and clean that out, and he asked for advice on what to do. Got a couple of pieces of advice. Connor from Wisconsin has a response. He says, in response to the emailer, Brian from Indiana, from the 10:09 show with the blob in the carboy, perhaps he could take it to a car wash and use the high-pressure hand sprayer and blast the thing out of there. Connor says, also it may be beneficial to sanitize the carboy before storage between brews. Well, it's worth a shot, I guess. Definitely storing the carboy with sanitizer. If he is able to knock that stuff out of there, he should probably store the carboy with sanitizer like Star San in it, and That would be a good idea if he was able to knock that stuff out. I don't know. Kind of skeptical, though. Dale from Hillsborough, North Carolina, has this. For the guy with the infected carboy, step 1. Clean and thoroughly rinse the carboy. Place the carboy in the bedroom near the door or in a hallway that you walk by at least once a day. Each time you pass by, dump in your loose change. When the carboy is at least half full, donate the money to a local charity. Or step 2, buy a better bottle. So, or maybe and step 2. Maybe you do both of them. You fill it up with change and then you buy a better bottle. So I'm not sure if that's the kind of advice Brian was looking for, but it may be the most practical. I appreciate the responses, guys. Boy, how heavy would a glass carboy be full of change? Holy smokes. Chuck from Phoenix, Arizona sends us this. I mentioned before that I was going to try to use dry ice to chill the wort. I've got an update for you. Chuck says, I've tried this with 2 separate batches and 2 different amounts of dry ice. In both cases, I had to put ice in the sink because the heat in the brew pot was warming the wort back up, counteracting the cooling of the dry ice. Very interesting. Chuck says, the first batch used between 8 ounces and 1 pound of dry ice, and it worked rather well once I figured out that I needed to pack ice around the brew pot to keep it from warming the wort back up. There was a slight bitterness that conditioned out after a few months. Interesting. Chuck says, the second batch used right out a pound of dry ice and about 10 pounds of ice packed around the pot to cool the brew pot. The temperature dropped rapidly and appeared to effectively cold shock the wort fairly well. So got some cold break from the dry ice. After fermentation, carbonation, and conditioning for about a month or so in bottles, there is a significant level of CO2 bitterness. Think Heineken mini keg in the bottled beer. Chuck says, I'm hoping that it will condition out like the previous batch did, though it may take quite a bit longer to do so. When I find out how long it's going to take for this amount of CO2 bitterness to condition out, I'll let you know. Very interesting. You may remember that we had some email discussions back and forth about using dry ice, and there was one who wrote in with some skepticism about whether dry ice would be clean enough to use in the wort because he had used dry ice, and every time he used dry ice, he noticed that there was kind of dirt left over. But it sounds like Chuck is using it, and it works to cool the wort down. So, it's funny. I wouldn't have thought about the retained heat of the brew pot actually reheating the wort after it was chilled, but it sure makes sense. And I have to admit that I'm skeptical that the CO2 bitterness that Chuck reports is related to the dry ice. I mean, if you think about it, you need to aerate the wort after chilling, with either oxygen or shaking, to get the yeast going, to get some oxygen in there. And a lot of the CO2 that's in suspension is going to be knocked out of solution during active fermentation. So, I don't know, it would seem to me that may negate the dry ice effect. However, that's just me, talking out of my top of my hat or various other places and, without any data to back that up. So, very, very interesting. I'm hoping Chuck will keep us posted on further batches. All right, let's get into the meat of the matter. I appreciate the email from everybody. This was the third Sam Adams brunch that Andy and I had attended. There's always good food and good beer there. The past 3 years, the Boston Beer Company has used that event as a place to announce the winners of their annual LongShot homebrew contest. This year, more than 1,300 consumer entries were judged and narrowed down to 4 finalists who were flown to Denver for the Great American Beer Festival. Also, Sam Adams employees entered the contest, and 3 employee finalists were in attendance. And the winners' beers will appear in a special LongShot 6-pack, which I can't wait to try. The one LongShot participant who was the least nervous there was Mike McDowell, whose double IPA won last year. And unfortunately, that coincided with the hop crisis. So the release of his beer was delayed. And I'm here with Mike McDowell. And where are you from, Mike?
I'm from Clayton, California.
So you are the you're the long shot person here, who is the least nervous probably, because you know that you're going into the six-pack.
I've already won, so they're about to announce the winner for this year's, but I've already won last year. I'm here because they haven't made my beer yet. Sort of a big hoopla about that. There was a shortage of the hops that go into my double IPA, so they had to. Took them a little while to get those hops sourced because of the how they were impacted. Really, mostly last year because they were just totally unavailable in that shorter notice to make the beer.
Yeah, I guess yours was a case of extremely bad timing.
Yeah. It would have been like if the year before, been no problem. They would have called whatever hop union or whatever and ordered up the hops and made the beer.
So, have you had trouble convincing people that you actually were a winner since you weren't in the six-pack?
Well, yeah, the questions are pretty continuous. Yeah, every time I see a friend or an acquaintance that knows I won, they keep saying, "When's the beer going to come out?" A lot of them assume it's never going to come out because it's been a long time for them. To me, it's not that long at all.
So tell us about the recipe.
Well, basically, my beer is a close clone of Pliny the Elder. So it's got a lot of the same hops. I have a little bit different hop addition at a couple of points there. I do a couple of my processes are probably fairly different than that beer, but it comes out with a similar effect.
So, did you get any reaction from the Boston Beer Company people that did they know it was a Pliny clone or close to Pliny?
Well, they didn't know beforehand because that's not part of the entry. But afterwards, I told Jim, and in fact, Vinny and I, the author of Pliny the Elder, went over and told him together because he knew it was. Jim had the greatest response. He thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So this is a beer that Jim really wants to make. I take that from him.
So have they brewed it yet?
No, they'll brew that in probably November, December for February release.
It'll be interesting to see how close it comes to the original recipe.
It will be. Pliny's now in the bottle, so it's getting some bigger distribution. Had the beer come out last year, that wouldn't have been the case. So could have been less like ambiguous, a bit more ambiguous, like it may taste like Pliny, it may not. Now there's more potential for some side by side stuff. Well, that's not going to work. Even Vinny's not, since he's got new equipment, his beer is a little bit different than it was before too.
Well, it's very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So Mike got to wait on the sidelines and watch as Jim Cook of the Boston Beer Company announced this year's winners.
Thank you all for coming first. I'm Jim Cook. I started Sam Adams many years ago. I think this is my 24th Great American Beer Festival, which sounds like a lot, except we've got people like Charlie Papazian and Daniel Bradford here who have been to every single one of them. So I'm a relative newcomer. And let me tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to announce the winners of two large homebrew competitions that we've held over the last year. One of them for practicing homebrewers outside of the company, which gathered about 1,200 entries. So the winners here from those well over 1,000 beers. The second is from the Sam Adams Employee Homebrew Competition, and we're fortunate enough to be part of a company where most of our employees are also brewers. We got well over 300 entries from Boston Beer Company employees, all of whom made their own homebrew. So both these competitions showcase some very good beers, and the whole LongShot idea is something that is important to me because it is meant to keep alive a part of the company that maybe is not so visible to the general public, but is important and quite visible here at Great American Beer Festival, and that is the roots of Boston Beer Company and its connection to the community and institution of homebrewing. Because I started as a homebrewer, as did many craft brewers, and even today, a lot of the really interesting creative things in beer are not just done by people making the beers that you see at the festival. If you were to hold a similar event for homebrewers, I believe you would showcase a similar quantity and quality of beers. Today, the line between a talented home brewer and a practicing professional brewer is largely arbitrary. And I think the quality of the beers that have been tasted for this competition shows that. And that has that sort of respect for beer itself, the simplicity of the brewer's art, as represented by the home brewing community, has always been an important part of Sam Adams. So I'm going to announce the four finalists. First, from the homebrew part of the long shot competition. From those over 1,200 beers, we had four finalists that made their beer all the way up to Boston from different parts of the country, starting with this is a sobriety test for me to see if I can remember everybody's name, location, and their beer. Beginning with Alex Dropshov from Livermore, California, who made a traditional Bach. Any of you who are brewers know how hard it is to make lager in general at home and Bach in particular. And I think the fact that he has a garage that in Livermore stays at 55 degrees, I think that's pretty helpful. The second finalist is Michael Robinson from New Hampshire, and Michael made a quite different style, an oatmeal espresso stout. And one thing I know about Michael, he comes from a good family because he got into home brewing when his mother gave him a homebrew kit. Wish every mother would do that for their child. The third beer is Aaron Schenk from North Carolina, who made a German Pilsner, also a very difficult style, with a secret yeast garnered from a Swiss monastery. So if you had his beer, it is truly a religious experience. And then finally, from Massachusetts, we have Chad Warner, who made a mild ale using a homebrew book, Brewing Classic Styles. So it's nice to see that all the literature that the Brewers publications turns out is being put to such good use. And we have a fifth finalist who is the only returning finalist, the only one who actually had the pleasure of coming back this year to the GABF knowing that his homebrew had already won. And that is Mike McDowell from California. And Mike made a double IPA that actually won last year and fell victim to the worldwide hop shortage because he had a very nicely, finely, intricately hopped beer from a brewer's point of view. And when we brewed it in the summer, no problem. Well, we came to the fall, the hop shortage hit, and many of those hops, I think there were six, were unavailable at any price. And so Mike made the brewer's decision to make the beer correctly. So we were able to assemble all of those hops. Actually, just last week, we got the last ones in. So we're going to be able to respect Mike's recipe, and the beer will be in the long shot 6-packs alongside one beer from the other four finalists. And the winning beer that will go alongside Mike's beer is Alex's Traditional Bock. And we actually have samples of Alex's winning homebrew to taste. So after we finish this, you can all give it a taste. I hope it meets with your approval. So, again, congratulations. And you all made great beer. You all deserve to win. Thank you. And we have 3 more finalists. These are 3 people from Boston Beer Company whose beers were sampled at the beer festival. And the winner of those 3 was picked by ballot from festival goers. It was quite close. We had 3 finalists there. We had Dave McNally with an allspice honey wheat. With spices from his garden. So his ingredients came from 10 feet away from his kettle. That's one of the things you can do as a home brewer. And second, Carissa Swigart, from here in Colorado. Dave is part of our legal team. Carissa is part of our national account sales team. Carissa, originally from Massachusetts, made a cranberry wit. And third, Swapna Mehta, who is part of our financial analyst team. She is not really a nun, but in keeping with her Belgian style, she made a Belgian double. And the winner of these 3 beers, and it was very close, is Carissa Swigart. All right. Woo! Congratulations. So, and I'm actually really pleased at the variety of the beers that'll be in this year's LongShot. There will be a cranberry wit, a double IPA, and a traditional Bock. It's a really wonderful showcase of the range, the variety, the provenance of beers that are being made here in the United States today. And it's a great example of the creativity in the homebrewing community. So, to homebrewers everywhere, cheers. And I think that's it. So, again, my apologies for interrupting your drinking.
After the announcement, I nabbed the winners and the finalists for quick interviews. Let's start with the consumer homebrewers. Alex Drobshoff, the winner, followed by Chad Warner, Aaron Schenk, and Michael Robinson. Well, Alex, congratulations.
Thank you very much, James.
Tell us about your beer.
Well, the beer is a traditional Bock, and it's a German lager, which, since I don't have any refrigerated fermentation space, I have to only do lagers in the winter. So my garage stays around 55 degrees, and I let it do its primary fermentation for about 2 weeks, and then I bring it in the house for about 3 days to do the diacetyl rest, and then I slowly cool it down in my kegerator to about 35 degrees. And then it's about a three week process before it starts getting ready, but it's really a couple of months before it develops the character.
So it's a beer that requires patience, essentially.
Absolutely. The flavor really matures over a couple of months.
How long have you been brewing?
I've been brewing all grain for about 11 years. And I like to cook, and so cooking and beer brewing are kind of a natural follow-on.
So is this your favorite style?
I brew all over the map, but this is one beer that I've brewed consistently for several years.
So tell us about the ingredients. What goes into the beer?
Okay, this beer is brewed with Munich malt and some two-row and just a touch of chocolate malt and some Hallertau hops. And so it's a very simple recipe, but a lot of it's in the process and the maturation.
So do you think that simplicity is key to a good beer? Is that your philosophy?
It certainly helps. It's one less thing to screw up.
So if you brew lagers in the wintertime, what do you brew in the summertime?
In the summertime, when it's really hot, I brew Saisons, and that yeast tends to do well up into the 70s and even up to 80 degrees. And IPAs and American Pale Ales. But this particular Bock won first place at the Mayfair and first place at the World Cup, which are two big contests in California. And it did pretty well at this contest as well.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. I look forward to seeing you on the bottle.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's pretty overwhelming.
Well, Chad Warner, congratulations, first of all, for coming this far. And I got to say, I was kind of rooting for you because you emailed me before the festival saying that you were going to be here and you were hoping that we could meet up. So I'm happy to be able to meet you and kind of sad that you didn't win. I was rooting for you.
Well, thanks a lot, James. I've learned a lot from your podcast specifically, and I was just happy to be here. The whole competition is just an incredibly good time. I recommend everybody enter it. Get the feedback if nothing else, and you may end up in Denver.
Yeah. Well, tell us about your beer.
I brewed a mild. It's straight out of Brewing Classic Styles from Jamil Zainashev, but I used dry Windsor yeast and U.S. Fuggles instead of EKG and the old liquid cultures that's in there. But it was a terrific brew day. That one in particular, we had fresh snow and friends came over and we dove in and then went for a hike and came back and boiled, and it was a great time. And clearly the good feelings went into the beer.
Yeah, so something other than just the ingredients, huh?
I like to think so. We'll see.
So you haven't been brewing for very long, right?
I haven't. It was last summer. A friend of mine was getting married, and he's a home brewer and had talked about, they were doing a big do-it-yourself wedding, and he had talked about making the beer for his wedding, but as we all know, it's sometimes things get a little involved and you don't get around to it and all that. And I said, well, what the heck, I'll give it a try. And another friend of mine had homebrewed in the past, and he showed me how to do it, and we made the Bitter Old Man for the wedding, and it was a terrific beer, and I was hooked. And 4 extract batches, and then I switched to all grain, and I brew quite a bit.
Wow! And you said you've got a brewer's logbook, and you've almost filled it up.
Well, almost is an interesting word. I got about 10 pages, or 10 more entries, and I'm hoping to get those done before the end of the year. Looking to fill it. That's my goal.
Well, we may have to come out with a Chad Warner special extended edition just for you, or I may have to send you 2 logbooks so that you can keep track of all your brewing.
Well, that'd be fine with me. If my goal is to fill the pages, the more pages you put on it, the more beer I'm going to have, so that sounds good to me.
Well, once again, congratulations, Chad.
Thank you very much, James.
Excellent. Now, you're Aaron Schenk, and where are you from?
I'm from Asheville, North Carolina.
And what beer did you enter today?
Entered a German Pilsner.
Tell us about the beer.
Traditional German Pilsner, lots of Saaz hops, Pilsner malt, and yeast I got from Highland Brewing in town, from a Swiss monastery. It's a lager strain that makes a clean beer.
So what's your secret?
That yeast is the secret to that beer. It's just amazing strain. All the years I've been making lagers, it's never been as easy as using that yeast.
Tell us about your lagering process. What equipment do you use, and what are your temperatures like? And go through the details.
With those, it's so hot where I'm at right now. I got a bunch of fridges and stuff for aging beer, but I was brewing a lot, so I actually only let it ferment for 4 or 5 days. It's a really fast fermenter, and as soon as I saw it start to slow down, I just pulled it out of the cooler and let it ramp up for a diacetyl rest. But I mean, up to 78 degrees, is what it got to because it's so hot.
Wow.
And let it sit for a couple days and then crash it. Let it aged for a month, cold.
So you kind of improvised and didn't necessarily follow the rules.
A lot. But it seems to work with that yeast. I don't know. Most other strains I've worked with don't do that. They don't take kindly to that kind of stuff, but it works really well. I've made 6 beers with that strain, doing them the same way, and it works amazing.
How long have you been brewing?
17 years.
So what got you into it, and what got you into entering this contest?
I just entered the contest just to do it. I don't know, but I don't know. I was pretty young, and I moved to Boulder and tasted good beer and started brewing within a week of having tasted some new Belgian beers. I didn't know that there was beer like that out there. And,
so you saw the light.
I saw the light, definitely.
Well, congratulations on getting this far. Well, Mike, congratulations, first of all, for getting this far.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Tell me about your beer.
I made an oatmeal espresso stout, and very coffee-like indeed. Base beer, again, was an oatmeal stout. And if you like coffee and you like oatmeal, it was a good one.
It sounds right up my alley. We did a show on using coffee and beer, and it seems like everybody has a different method of putting the coffee in. You can put it anywhere in the process. Where did you put yours?
Actually made some fresh espresso and added it right to the keg when the beer was completely finished. Yeah, that way the goal there was to try to maximize the aromatics. Sometimes when you add the coffee, in primary or secondary fermentation, you lose a little bit of that aromatic, so we want to try to maintain as much as possible.
So how much, without giving too much of the secrets away, how much did you use in, I guess it's a 5-gallon batch?
Sure, yeah. It was, I used a mason jar, and it was just a small one, so it was 8 ounces in a 5-gallon batch. Yep.
And is that something that you experimented with, that you added a little and mixed it up and tasted it, or did you get it right off first try?
It was actually my second attempt. I had made one the year prior, and I increased the espresso a little bit on this one to try to bring it out a little bit more.
How long have you been brewing?
12 years. Yeah, long time.
So,
long time.
So I assume you're all gray now.
I am, yeah. Yeah, I brew down in my garage, and a few years back I made a 3-tier rack system, and it's got a pump, but it used gravity as well, and it's nothing better than hanging out in the garage for me, and making a batch of beer.
So what other styles do you like to brew?
I brew them all. I love to make all styles of lagers and wheat beers. Some of my favorites, I guess, would be German Pilsners and Belgian wheat beers and all of them. All of them.
So tell me about the experience of being a finalist and getting to come to the GABF.
It was incredible. The bragging rights have been unbelievable. Like I said, I've been brewing a long time, and I've entered a lot of competitions. But everybody can really associate Sam Adams and so a lot of bragging rights with the friends back home, and everybody with the company's been super cool and really hooked us up, and it's just been wonderful. Great vacation.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sam Adams employees are encouraged to get into the competition too. Some, probably most, would not have thought about home brewing if it weren't for the competition. So I think it's a good thing that they're involved. Get them into home brewing and learn a little bit about what their company's making. So anyway, we talked to the winner, Carissa Swigart, and the runners Swapna Mehta and Dave McNally. Carissa, yes. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
This is quite an emotional experience, huh?
Yeah, I had tears in my eyes, and I kind of still do. Brewing is a very hard job, and this is actually my 3rd year brewing, but first year actually brewing by myself. So it was very emotional because I took on an all-grain beer, a cranberry beer, and I'm very fortunate enough that it came out, like it did. It was a true LongShot, though, so it's just a lot of emotions right now. So
tell us about your beer.
It's a traditional Belgian wit. I love Belgian wit beers. Hoegaarden's one of my favorite, and then our white ale, Blue Moon. and I wanted to do something with a Cape Cod flair. I'm from Cape Cod, so I love cranberries, I love cinnamon. So I want to do a Belgian wit with some cranberry and cinnamon in it, but not too overpowering to take away from what a Belgian is. So I decided to brew an all-grain beer with ocean spray cranberry juice, cinnamon, coriander, orange peel, grains of paradise, which is the South African pepper that we used here at Sam Adams, and it just kind of all came together nice. Wow. So,
are you a cook?
Yes, I am. I love cooking. If I wasn't working for the best company in the world, Sam Adams, I'd probably be a chef. So I guess that kind of helped me out too.
Yeah, I kind of got a hint. You know, you were throwing more and more ingredients into the pot there. Was this kind of an improvisational thing?
It definitely was. I did about 2 ounces of each, but it definitely was, let's throw in a little pinch here and there, taste it. I wanted the flavor and the aroma. And then with the cranberry juice, right before I bottled it, I was just pouring in probably like a liter at a time, not even, and then just tasting as I was going. And actually, when I first brewed it, it looked horrible and it actually tasted pretty horrible. So it was just a big surprise after about 2 or 3 weeks when I tasted it. I was like, it's a completely different beer. So it was awesome. It was a great experience.
Yeah, I get emails from brewers saying, my beer doesn't taste right, and my advice is always patience. Yes. So this is a case where you didn't give up.
And I didn't, and at first I did. I've been learning a lot from the guys at Rocky Mountain Brewery. They just opened up in Colorado Springs. Dwayne is like a dad to me. I've learned a lot from him in the short time I've known him. So I was calling him, asking him questions. I actually brewed this beer there because it was an all-grain beer. So I brewed it at his home shop. And throughout the process, everything I did, he was over my shoulder just saying, if you want to go for it, it will be better. And he said patience was the big thing, and I listened to him, and I just went with my gut. I threw in that cinnamon, I threw in that grains of paradise, and it just all worked out. So.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again. I look forward to seeing you on the bottle.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, first of all, tell me your name.
My name is Swapna Mehta.
And where are you from?
I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. So you're from the hometown.
I am from the hometown.
Well, first of all, congratulations on getting this far.
Thank you so much. It's been exciting.
Tell me about your beer.
We made a Belgian-style spiced double, which had 4 different types of malts and 3 different types of hops. It had notes of toffee, it had 8% ABV, and a little hint of nutmeg, but most of the spiciness you experience when you drink it is from the esters of the yeast.
Oh, okay. So in the spices, you just used nutmeg and relied on the yeast?
Just a pinch of nutmeg. Not a lot, yeah.
So how long have you been brewing?
This is our 3rd year. I brewed. My husband helped me with all the heavy lifting in the kitchen, but this is our 3rd year.
So what did you brew the other years?
The first year was a brown ale, which I tried to spice up with Indian spices. I think we didn't get sanitation right. And then last year we tried a wit, but I'm not sure what went wrong. So it was decent, but it wasn't very good.
So I guess the old third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm, absolutely.
What do you plan to do next year?
We haven't decided yet, but it's so dependent on style, and as home brewers, I think we do like to try a new thing every year. So we're not the ones who keep brewing the same one just to, because we are used to it. But we do like trying and experimenting new ways of doing things. So whatever catches our fancy next year, it's a little far to say.
Well, good luck and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, Dave McNally, congratulations, first of all, on getting this far.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's just really, like I said, just happy to be here. It's so much fun.
So tell us about your beer.
It's a really cool story. It's an allspice honey wheat. I went down to visit my sister-in-law in Florida. She had an allspice tree in her garden. She said, smell this. And, not even thinking about beer, and I smelled it, and I'm like, that's a Belgian yeast smell that I want in my beer. Got back to Boston and made her mail me up an envelope of it and just dry spiced it. Took the whole allspice branch right off the tree, leaves, berries, and all, and put it right in the fermenter. And then the night before the competition was due, I came home to bottle and got everything ready, and then realized I left my priming sugar at work. So last second edition, went through the cabinets, found some honey, dumped that in there, found some maple syrup, totally on the fly, and just dumped it in there and thought it was going to be a terrible beer, and ended up getting me here. And I'm usually so meticulous about my beer. And like the harder I worked to get it right, the worse the beer was. And the one time I just relaxed and had a homebrew and didn't worry, best beer.
So Charlie's advice does work.
Charlie's advice definitely works. I came up with a saying this week, and I think the yeast knows how laid back you are. If you're not laid back, it won't work for you. If you are laid back, it makes a good beer.
So it sounds like you're an experienced homebrewer, and you're not just entering just because you're an employee and part of the competition.
I wasn't. Before I worked for Sam Adams, I'd never brewed, and then the homebrew kit showed up on my doorstep 2 years ago, and I started brewing. So I've been doing it for about 3 years now. So 3 years ago it showed up, and I love it. Like, it's so much fun. It's just such a great weekend project, and just, you talk about reaping the rewards of what you do for a hobby. So that's great.
Well, congratulations, and maybe next year.
Hopefully next year. I already got some ideas in mind. Maybe I was talking to your buddy here. Maybe a Munich Helles would be nice. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Take care.
How fun was that? Great to see home brewing get a bit of higher visibility. I've actually heard other beer companies that have run advertisements knocking us homebrewers, so it's good to see somebody like Jim Cook showing off the talents of good homebrewers and kind of, I hope, raising homebrewers in the eyes of, everybody else in the world. Just a little selfish aspect there. Well, that's just the start of our GABF coverage. Once again, it was great to meet everybody out there in Colorado. It really is a boost of energy to see that there are people actually connected to the emails and the server stats, that we that I take a look at in connection with this podcast. So once again, thanks to everybody for being so nice. So stay tuned for more stuff from Colorado and the Great American Beer Festival. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com. Or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com, and please don't forget to tell us where you're from. And check your email. Make sure it's right. You can check out our low-tech lagering and decoction mashing DVD on basicbrewing.com, where you can see Steve do a single-step decoction mash, and you can follow me through a lager fermentation in the middle of summer where I don't use a dedicated chest freezer. Becoming not an issue here in the north of the equator, but, south, you guys are warming up. There are also our original DVDs, Basic Brewing, Introduction to Extract Home Brewing, where we walk you through the extract brewing process, step by step from boiling to bottling. And in Basic Brewing, Stepping into All Grain, we take you through the all grain process from milling your grain to collecting your wort. We've got combo deals on the site to save you a few bucks if you want to buy more than one DVD at a time. You can see a listing of the fine folks across the country who sell our DVDs on basicbrewing.com. And if there isn't a vendor in your area, you can order it online in our online shop at basicbrewingshop.com, and I will personally box that up for you. Remember, we have shirts of different colors now. Saw some of those out there in Denver. How cool was that? Hoping to get some photographs back from those guys. Thanks to everybody who's continued to click on our Amazon.com link. We appreciate the support there. Our featured products this week that were purchased through the link are American Quilters Society 2009 calendar. I think that I've seen that on a wall of a garage at one point. Also, Sung by Alfred Sung for Women Eau de Toilette Spray, 3.4 ounces. So don't try to take that on the airplane. They'll get you. Those 0.4 ounces prove you're terroristic, I guess. By the way, I accidentally, in flying from Northwest Arkansas to Denver, I got there and opened up my camera bag, and in amongst all my equipment was my Swiss Army knife. So, whoops. That went into the checked baggage on the way back. Sorry. Thanks again, everybody. Remember, I can't tell who bought what, so no worries. Just click on the Amazon.com logo on our site the next time you feel like Amazon shopping. We appreciate your support there. We also, for you guys that are wanting to buy those swanky new Apple computers, we have an associate link to the Apple Store on the site that's right below the Amazon link. So that's all until next week. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by our buddy Kelly Dodson down in Austin. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.